Hey folks, I'm Sean C. Davis, and I've been playing around with the Excalidraw MCP server lately, and it is a game changer. I'm going to show you how you can get set up with Claude Code CLI, and so you can get creating diagrams right away. Let's take a look. The first thing I want to mention is that the MCP server is built on top of Excalidraw Plus API, which means you need a paid Excalidraw subscription to be able to use it at this particular time. But if you have that, the first thing you're going to want to do is copy the MCP URL, and then you want to go through the process to create an API key, and we're going to use both of those in our configuration. So go through that process, copy the endpoint, create your API key, copy your API key, and then we want to open up the configuration file, which is in the root of your home directory, and it is .claude.json. Now what you're looking for is an MCP servers property. Turns out I have 47 in my configuration file here, and it was almost at the very bottom of the file. And I'm going to create a new property in here called Excalidraw, and this is the shape of it. So it is of type HTTP, and then here with the URL is where you're going to paste that URL you copied. And then for the header, add the authorization header, and you should have the word bearer with a space, and then right here is where you will paste in your API token. Then you can save this configuration file and open up a new Claude session. And now I'm inside of one of my personal projects, and let's say that I wanted to visualize how the authentication flow worked so that I could see it, and then I could realize where I might need to make some changes. So what if I just say generically, create an Excalidraw diagram that visualizes the authentication flow in this app. Now, what I usually like to do is have the scene ready to go so that we don't have to mess with creating, deleting, editing scenes, and we can just focus on the content itself. So I come over to this empty scene and I copy the last segment in the URL. And then back in Claude Code, I can say the scene ID. Okay, we're done. It took almost 15 minutes, worked really hard, and burned a little more than $4 in token cost. But if it did a good job, 15 minutes is way faster than you're going to be able to produce a related diagram. And certainly it's worth $4 of your time. So let's take a look. Okay, and holy smokes, this is nice and detailed. Yeah, I had kind of forgotten I picked a fairly complex project because I have a UI authentication method which works with the server and gets tied to a Netlify identity user. And then there's also the MCP server, and the MCP server is meant to just treat this as a one user system. And so they're not really tied together in any way. So this is really cool. It kind of walks us through each step. We're using some color coding. Honestly, this did a surprisingly good job, and I'm trying to think about whether or not it used this skill, because one thing I was going to mention to you all is that I tend to use this Excalidraw skill that I came across. It's called Excalidraw Diagram skill. I have installed this on a couple of projects, and honestly, it makes a huge difference. I've noticed where when I don't use this skill, there's often a lot of overlapping text and arrows and things like that. And I'm suspicious in thinking it probably used it because there's almost no overlap of shapes and objects here. And it came out really nice and clean. So this is just one really quick example, but I am telling you, this is a huge game changer to be able to take something that exists within code or even within a plan before you have your agent write the code and to draw it out, to visualize it. So rather than multiple pages of text, you want to get your teammates bought into it. Well, add a diagram to go with that, shorten the text up, make it easier to understand. And it can be a great way to document your systems because you can also pull the code and the configuration behind this drawing down, and you can store that right alongside your code in your repository, and you can keep iterating on that as it goes. So any of the developers, as long as they have these Excalidraw accounts, they can use this MCP server and they can contribute to the drawing as well without needing to go in and hand edit and manipulate these little things. So anyways, that's it for now. I'm Sean C. Davis. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.